And so we're back. This is the last video because I realize I've gone a little too long. So, with all that being said, which I forgot to mention to another win before I go back to the subject at hand, I just wanted to make mention, sorry a sec, that Jane Champion made Oscar history when she won the Best Director Academy Award for brooding Western The Power of the Dog. The 67-year-old filmmaker won the Academy Award on Sunday night for the unconventional Western starring Benedict Cumberbatch that was shot in her native New Zealand. Again, another award that just, not that it went to the wayside. These people are happy and they can put that in their resume and will continue to do projects, but it was overshadowed because of the nonsense that happened between Chris Rock and Will Smith. Now, what I will say is that we don't necessarily understand why he needed to react that way. We always tell our children, use your words, be mindful of your words, and I think he could have honestly enjoyed the night if he had made a better decision. And again, who are we to say? We're not under that microscope. We're not under that pressure. I was like, homie, did you take an edible before the show? What happened there? Because for the most part, I don't necessarily think we've ever had an issue when it regarding Will Smith. But then there were always those rumors between him and I believe the actress that played Aunt Viv on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is odd because for the longest they had hated each other, and now they've made up since the HBO reunion. Again, you can stream that too on HBO Max. Janet Hubert is her name. She was the original, the OG Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince. And she had said for the longest not that he had a temper, but, her career dwindled because she was no longer wanted on the show. And she hated him for years, decades. Now, I don't know exactly what's happened. Again, I don't claim to know everything. Everything's very hush-hush when it comes to Hollywood. But she came to his defense after what happened, and she said that then she's met Chris, and Chris is not the nicest of people. I don't understand. I really don't understand here. I understand that alopecia is what's happening to Jada, and that's why she has had to shave her head. I guess she's just trying to roll with the punches, and I get it. As a woman, I get it. And again, I can't say I've been diagnosed with the same thing, but I do suffer from hyperthyroid. And so I'm familiar with when it comes to hair loss. I wear wigs, for heaven's sake. I have my hair. And I can sympathize. I can understand where Jada is coming from. As a woman, yes, you do feel like you are knocked down a peg when it comes to certain aesthetics. Does that necessarily also equate to being woman or feminine? No. But it is a transition that not necessarily people can adapt to easily. And again, I'm talking through a perspective of a person that is nowhere near her financial gains or her financial success. I mean, really, are you that put off by it? Like, and you have millions of dollars. Again, I don't claim to know the circumstance and mental health of everyone, but at the same time, it's just hard for me to process or even understand the level of why it needed to escalate the way it did on last night's broadcast of the Academy Awards. Why did Will react the way he did? Now, the reason why I'm making mention of how public they've always been, because they've always been very public about their complexes, parenting, extramarital affairs, entanglements. And I'm no shade to them because the Kardashian clan does the same exact thing and have profited lovely. They're in the billionaire bracket because they have put their lives out for public consumption. But was this a wise choice, especially when they were talking about the infamous entanglement? Um, I'm a big, again, I've told my viewers that I've always been a fan of other YouTubers, and I can link in the description box. I follow every on occasion. One therapist he goes by the name of Todd Grande, and he analyzed what happened to the best of his ability. It's not a diagnosis. If you want to seek treatment, that's something that would take, he would need to take you on as a client. But he gave a brief summary of perhaps why he had such an outburst like that, last night. And I agree with him. I think it could have a lot to do with the entanglement. We're used to, American pop culture, we're used to when there's infidelity in a marital relationship that's dwindling, close to divorce. We're used to the scenario of seeing a man prefer a younger woman for her virility, her agility, her youth, her ability to have children, more children, especially in a marriage that has lasted X amount of years, decades. And rarely do we see it the other way around. And it's not that it doesn't happen, but for the most part, women don't necessarily step out of the marriage. And when they do, if they have chosen a lover outside of the marriage, it's usually because that person is much more virile. And not for nothing, Jada is famous for having liked a particular type. She was very much, now I don't think she ever had a physical relationship with Tupac, but they were very close, and there was a particular type that's why even then, you can Google this, people were always perplexed of that match between Jada and Will, because she had always kind of like her guys more on the rougher edge. And again, I don't know if those are instances that still linger in Will's head after all these years of marriage. It's a sensitivity issue for him. And that maybe Jada's new love interest or her entanglement that is no longer, I don't believe they're dating anymore. And it was at a time that both Jada and Will were separated, which also I don't understand if I heard correctly, but that the guy that she was dating was close in age either to her daughter or her son, but he was a young man. And I'm sure she had like 20 years on top of his. So, and then she fell in love with him. She admits in the Red Table Talk that she loved him deeply and out of her need to nurture him. And even instances of that she grew to love Will even more because of him. So there's that very touchy subject. You can watch the interview. I'm sure it's still up on Facebook when they have that talk, Jada and Will, and he looks very sensitive about that subject. I wouldn't put it past that a lot of people went ham on him. Comedians, comics like Chris probably went ham on their relationship that, again, they put up for public consumption. And it's something that I'm assuming that Will has festered over years. And that's a conversation, again, that I don't know if necessarily you should have gone public with, if it's a very sore subject for you, or it's something that you need to address with Jada. I don't know. But it doesn't make sense. And I get it. A lot of people are like, oh, but, he's married to her, and, he felt the need to protect her because her feelings were really hurt because of that comment. And we need to protect our black women. And yes, we do. That is absolutely correct. But in this circumstance, did it really merit that? If Chris had said something about her being loose or robbing the cradle, that was the tagline that you used to get back in the day. In fact, I think there was a movie with that same title, but I don't think it had to do with an extramarital affair, but it's known, robbing the cradle, that's what it means, like dating somebody who's super young. If he would have made mention of that entanglement or said something very hurtful, I mean, this was hurtful for her, but was it really that hurtful? And like I said, the joke doesn't even make sense. you have to be like a real nerd when it comes to knowing all those films from back in the day. G.I. Jane, if you're in my age bracket, you know what the hell he said. If you're not, and you're Gen Z or anything recent, you're not going to understand that joke. And it was pretty like, wow. It was like a whack joke. It really didn't. It didn't hit hard. It didn't make any sense. You just could have rolled your eyes. There's a news reporter, I think, from CBS News, and he was this year's South by Southwest on a panel for black journalists, and his years of expertise and having to deal with the last administration. Very insightful reporter. He was part of this morning's CBS broadcast with Gail King, and they were talking about this horrible situation. And even though he admits he doesn't have kids of his own, he mentioned like how we always profess to children, use your words. It's in better judgment to, or in better a better exercise to have used his words as opposed to action and resorting to violence. So he could have really benefited if he had just waited till his acceptance speech, because let's be honest, it was kind of going in that route. And you could have like gave him a zinger while you were at the mic. So that way, he's the one that looks classless and you look classy. And you could have enjoyed. You could have enjoyed your night and not overshadowed all the other people that had won on such a groundbreaking night. And I'm sorry to say, but also people who admire you, people who wanted to mimic your career, who are still very much in the trenches and are trying to even reach that level of success that you have. You kind of poo-pooed all over all of that. I know, I'm sorry, that weighs a lot on your shoulders, but you are the 5th black male to have won in Best Actor category. The 5th. We only have 2 Latinas and 5 black actors that have won in that category. That's abysmal, and that's no shade to you. That is abysmal of the Academy Awards. But just tells you how things have not really progressed. And the small instances of hope and cheer, and that we can all kind of rejoice together, come together and congregate in your benefit, that could probably open doors to future generations. You really just like dumped all over that in that small instance. 30 years plus in the industry, and you really threw it out the window in that instant by touching him and doing that. Now the theater was so like, trying to avoid a lawsuit, they called the cops. And I'm sorry, I kind of suspect that the reason why you're apologizing now, almost 24 hours later, Will, to Chris, because in your acceptance speech, you kind of like, again, try to do a amalgamation of a number of reasons why you behaved the way you did, that love made you do it. And that's a trigger for a lot of people too, because a lot of crazy people do crazy things because of love too, even hurt their partner. So that was a bad choice of words right there. But you didn't apologize. You apologized to the Academy, you apologized to your fellow nominees, but you didn't apologize to the person that you hurt and physically hit, which was Chris Rock. So this apology that's coming in now, like almost 2 hours, almost 22 hours after the fact, it seems a little insincere and ingenuine, just because now they've opened the Academy has opened a review to go over what had happened, and perhaps even you might even lose your statue. That's pretty bad, bro. So again, your actions have consequences, and people, I think, if anything, can take away from that. But you like really sullied this moment in time for yourself, and then you stole all those moments for all those people who have probably worked a lifetime to achieve. And because there's just no telling, when you win a statue, you don't know if you'll be back. So it's really messed up on your part. And Chris will be fine, because Chris will probably be invited back. I think he was also provided some kind of benefits package because of what you did. And he's going on tour this summer, and you gave him a ton of material, and tickets